Hello students, this is Veena, Assistant Professor in the Department of English, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today we are going to talk about the aspects to improve the listening comprehension, which is one of the very important aspect in developing your communication skill. How is that you're going to make your comprehension well built and also comprehensive? That is, what are the aspects in which you are going to make your practice much better, such that you can comprehend the passages, you can comprehend the message or the information which is catered to provide the needs of your acquisition. So here today we are in detail going to talk about the aspects to improve listening comprehension, that is, which will help you in enhancing your ability to listen. If you listen well, you can speak well and render appropriately the information whatever you are up to at that particular moment. So, as listening is one of the foremost and the important pillar in language acquisition, you have to understand the strategies and as well as you have to understand those aspects which will make you stand unique in understanding to the others and responding in the way they interpret you want it to be. So, let us try to understand what are the aspects and what are the essentials which are very important in making your listening effective, especially in terms of your listening comprehension, that is listening understanding. Let us get started here. Listening is the ability to accurately receive, that is perfectly as it rendered. Are you able to decode the same meaning as the other person spoke to you, or you are unable to understand the language or the accent or the dialect which the other person is conversing with you? So, it is very important to encode or decode accurately the message, that is the proper format in which the other person wants you to understand, or you have to respond accordingly to the other person. So, it is the ability to receive accurately, that is properly, appropriately what others are trying to render it to you in way of communication. You must be able to take that input as accurately as it is possible, such that in the way of your response it shows apt and it is justified. So, the ability to take in the input of receiving the messages accurately is your listening ability, and interpret messages in the communication process. Once you take the message accurately, you will be able to interpret those messages to make the process of communication fulfilled. Communication is not the process which can be done one-sided. It has to be vice versa. If you are speaking, the other person will be listening to you, or if the other person is speaking, you are able to listen to him and understand and encode the meaning according to that perspective and try to decode the same meaning and also respond to it accurately. That is your listening ability, which is very important pillar in the way of your communication. Where if you could not listen properly, or if you are unable to lend your ear accurately to the other's message, then your communication will lead to misunderstandings, and it will be a lot of clumsiness, and also it leads to wrong relationships, and the relationships cannot be withstanding with such of misunderstandings. So, you have to be a good listener with the ability to decode the right meaning from the others, such that you can understand and respond accordingly to the other person. Listening is the key to all effective communication. Isn't it? Isn't it true? Of course. It
is the key. It is the very, very important key for your effective communication. If you cannot communicate effectively with other person, if you cannot listen, of course, not only in terms of your professional career, but also in terms of building your personal relationships, it is very, very important to have that clarity over the conversation, what you are building between your friends or your family members or your colleagues. If you are only the speaker and unable to listen to others and act accordingly to that, it will be an unsuccessful conversation. So the best key and the most important key in the way of your conversation is listening, and it will lead to the effective communication, which will enhance your ability and which will make others appealing and pleasing towards you. Without the ability of listening effectively, messages are easily misunderstood. If you're unable to understand the language, or if you're unable to take in the meaning as it is rendered by other person, of course there will be a misunderstanding. To avoid that misunderstanding, see that your language acquisition is having the ability to decode the meaning perfectly and also render in the same way as it is interpreted. As a result, communication breaks down and the sender of the message can easily become frustration. If someone is talking to you and you are unable to respond to him, you are unable to talk to him, you are unable to converse with him in the notion what that person want you to be. If you are just being a passive listener instead of responding to others while they are talking to you, of course it makes him irritated and frustrated. See, what I am doing is I am going on talking to that person and is not responding to me. So that response is very important and plays crucial role in the way of communication process. If you're unable to make this conversation successful, see that you avoid the group. If you're sitting in a group, if you're having a one-to-one individual conversation, and if you're addressing the audience in the way of interactive communication, you must have that capacity to listen while speaking. If you cannot listen, you cannot respond appropriately, and the misunderstanding, the clumsiness come over that conversation and it leads to a disaster. So this is the most important key which plays very, very vital role in the way of your effective communication. Here. Now, good listening skills also have benefits in our personal lives. It's not just in the point of your professional life or in your workspace. Even in your personal life, your family life, listening plays vital role. You cannot just be a speaker. You have to listen to your loved ones. You have to be able to talk to others, understand their concerns, and try to communicate them in the way they have the problem. So this will build good rapport between the family members. If you are a good listener, people will love to come to you. They will love to communicate with you and share their expressions or feelings or ideas, whatever come in their way in the process of building your family relationships. So not only just in the way of your professional life, but also in the way of your personal life, listening will play major role. That is the very, very important aspect which you all have to focus for good and for virtual relationship building. Now, a greater number of friends and social networks improve self-esteem and confidence. Self-esteem and confidence, higher grades at school and in academic work, and even better health and general well-being. with good listening skills, see what are the advantages. You can have that self-esteem in you. You can build that confidence within you, knowing the other person rightly. You can converse rightly with the other person such that your esteem, your confidence will build over, and you will be able to have that good rapport and interaction with the people around you. It not only helps you in providing the self-esteem, it builds your confidence, and also you will be able to get higher grades. Listening to your teacher effectively in the classroom will help you in making your academic work appropriate, and it will enhance the ability to secure higher grades. So at all the levels, listening will fetch you good advantages such that it will change you into a very good self-esteem and confidential person. And that is very, very important for today's generation. Having self-confidence, developing that self-esteem, having that enthusiasm and excitement to communicate and mingle with the groups is very, very important skill which the professional entities are requiring for. That is where we are asking for number of soft skills you have equipped with. How do you listen to others? How will you communicate with others? How is that you are going to make your peer group happy in the way of understanding their concerns and also resolving them with your problem solving skills and having effective communication. So on all the areas, listening skill stand as the first pillar to cater the needs of effective communication. So these are all the advantages which are very, very helpful in the way of your listening comprehension. Now, listening is not same as hearing, isn't it? Hearing is different and listening is different. When I am on the road, in the traffic, I'll be hearing too many sounds, isn't it? I'm not listening. On my way, I just came across some sounds. That which I was hearing, that which I'm not intentionally, intuitively interested in. But when you are listening, you must have that attentive interest towards that sound, whatever you are trying to listen to. If you are listening to a speaker, you must have the ability to take that listening content, whatever he is delivering, and you will be able to respond it only when if you can decode the meaning of that message. Hearing refers to the sounds that enter your ears. Any sound that enter your ear is here, to hear it. Now, it is a physical process that provided you do not have any hearing problems happens automatically. Here, it is just physical thing. Hearing is just a physical thing. You're not doing it with your heart. You're not doing it with your intention. You are coming across some sounds which are heard through your ears, but you're not paying much attention. It is happening physically. Listening requires focus and concentrated effort, both mental and sometimes physical, always. Remember these two words, focus and concentrated effort. You can be a good listener only when you can focus and when you put forward that concentrated effort in terms of rendering and listening to the conversation with among the group or among the individuals, isn't it? So try to understand this major difference between hearing and listening. Listening means paying attention. As I already told you, it is like focusing completely on what you are listening, on what you are trying to understand. Not only to the story, but how it is told, the use of language and voice, and how the other person uses his or her body. Listening is not just hearing. It is how the story is told, how the language is provided, what is the accent of that person, and the kind of body language the person is following. That is paying attention to all the aspects of measuring that particular message. You are going to pay attention towards the story, how the story is rendered, and what is the language used, and what could be the figures of speech, and what is the body language of that person while he is telling you the story. All these aspects are covered under your listening capability. So try to understand why is that we are observing the body language. We are observing the body language to know the mood, to know the expression of that particular person at that particular time. If he is happy, his body language is different. If he is sad, his body language is different. It explains the mood swings of the person. So all these aspects help us to understand that person at that particular time and try to converse him such that his mood is apt and appropriate to that particular situation and time. In other words, it means being aware of both verbal and non-verbal messages. That is, we are trying to understand both verbal and as well as non-verbal messages, that which have been catered with the use of body language as well as through the verbal oral language. So, listening capability focuses both on its verbal as well as non-verbal communication. Your ability to listen effectively depends on the degree to which you perceive and understand these messages. Now, the level, the grade of your listening ability is understood in the way of your perceiving and understanding the message. If you do not know the language of the other person in the way of the communication, of course you will not perceive it and you will not understand it. There is a gap filling between you and the other person because you are unable to understand his language. That is the reason we are looking for a common language in the workspaces. Why? Because as Indians, we are from different religions, different backgrounds, different dialects, different so many accents. So here we are trying to equip you all with one common language, and that is your English language, which will make you stand among all the peer group and understand in the level of communication, and there is no discrepancy in between the conversation. That is the role played by the English language. That is where we are trying to make you all understand that how important is to communicate in English language. Of course, we are experts and masterpieces in our languages, own languages. But when you go out into the professional world, you must be able to communicate with that one common language which everyone speak in that workspace. If you're unable to touch or catch up with the rapport of other people, then your professional life is in disaster. So that is a reason, try to understand that well-built communicative process of English language such that your growth no doubtly will be a successful possession for your professional life. Now, listening is not a passive process. Now, don't think that listening is just keeping quiet. It is a passive process. No, listening has to be an active process. You must be able to understand and decode and interpret, evaluate, and then respond to the message. So you have to see that all these things happen when you're listening to other person. If you're a passive listener, that means you're unable to understand to the other person. On the other way, when you need to be a passive listener, of course you have to be that. When it comes to meetings and all, you cannot just go in between and barge in and disturb those meetings with your speech. You have to be a passive listener there, understanding the content and messages which is rendered on that platform. So, understand this difference between the passive listeners and the active listeners. Be an active listener and attentive listener to make your communication better and effective. The phrase active listening is used to describe the process of being fully involved. You are completely involved with all your senses. That is what is active listening. That is, you are able to converse and listen to the other person in the way of understanding their mood, their thoughts, their expressions, their body language, and the way of their communication through the language acquisition. So, all these aspects you must be able to notice as an active listener. If you are unable to notice any of these, then your communication may have a lapse and there will be a misunderstanding in between the person whom you are communicating. Yeah, we spend a lot of time listening, isn't it? Because in the classrooms, when we go out, we spend a lot of time listening. But how much is it effective? How much is it useful? Were we being passive listeners or active listeners, or are we really utilizing the time of listening content to really make our all relationships good? And how is that we are going to put forth these aspects in the way of listening and comprehending the messages in the way of the communication is a question mark now. Now, adults spend an average of 70% of their time engaged in some sort of communication. We adults, we spend 70% of our time engaging in the communication. If we are spending 70% of time, how qualitative we are spending this 70% of time is very important. Just spending is not important. How much qualitative, how useful it is to us is more important. Research shows that an average of 45% is spent listening compared to 30% speaking, 16% reading, and 9% writing. According to research, we are catering 45% on listening ability. But if we are catering our 45% in listening, how effective, how qualitative, how authentic and how accurate we are able to listen to others and match the conversation and at least justify the conversations in which we are involved. We have to think over it. Now, that is by any standards, a lot of time listening. It is worthwhile, therefore, taking a bit of extra time to ensure that you listen effectively. Think that you have to listen effectively. How much time you are spending on listening is not important. How much qualitative time you are spending on listening effectively is more important. So try to focus on that. If you are sitting in front of a speaker, and are you able to listen to him all the times? If he is delivering the speech for 45 minutes, are you able to concentrate at least those 30 minutes in the 45 minutes is more important. Try to judge this. Try to understand the relevance of that time while you're spending in the listening skill and how good you're trying to encode the meaning or the message which is necessary in understanding that proper concept is very, very important. Here. Now, time spent communicating. Now, let us see. Communicating, we spend 70% and not communicating, we spend only 30%. Now, listening takes up 45%, speaking is 30%, reading is 16% and writing is 9%. So, therefore, listening is the most important pillar which will help you in enhancing and developing effective communication. It will make you look unique among the group and also fetches you that confidence and builds the self-esteem in the way of rendering, listening and speaking while the conversations take place. So, try to make this listening habit effective. Try to be active listeners. Try to be attentive listeners rather than passive listeners. Now, what is the purpose of this listening? Why do we have to listen to others? We have our own work. We have our own strategies, own ideas. Why is that we are wasting time listening to others? What is the main purpose for listening to others or communicating while others are speaking? Listening serves a number of possible purposes, and the purpose of listening will depend on the situation and the nature of communication. For example, your team leader have come to converse with you. Will you be able to think that why should I listen to him? If you do not listen to him, what is the situation arises there? You will be at loss because you will not be able to grasp the instructions what was given by your team leader. So you will be falling far behind others. So here, according to that situation, you have to listen effectively and you have to spend time listening. Not only in terms of your professional life and your workspace, it is also important in your personal life. What your parents are trying to talk to you, what your friends are trying to talk to you, what is that your loved ones are trying to approach to you and render their concerns or whatever problems they have. If you cannot pay an ear to the concerns of your loved ones, how is that you're going to develop that good rapport between you and the other people around you? So, it's quite important to be an active and accurate listener. To specifically focus on the messages being communicated, avoiding distractions and preconceptions. Try to avoid the distractions, whether they are physically or caused through mental distractions, and don't try to converse with the other person with a preconception or pre-assumption. That is, if someone has come to you to talk something, if you are preoccupied with about him from the beginning and you will be listening to him with that notion only, you will not understand him correctly. So don't have any pre-assumptions or preconceptions when you are trying to listen to other person. Put your heart into it. Try to listen keenly. Don't assume things. Don't preoccupy with something such that the message which is passed to you is misunderstood. So, try to understand all these aspects of listening. Then, to gain a full and accurate understanding into speaker's point of views and ideas. So, you must be able to gain that accurate understanding from the speaker's point of view. If you are pre-assumed or if your preconception has firstly molded, how is that you're going to look that message from speaker point of view? When someone has come to you to speak about their concern, you cannot have that preconception. You must be able to stand in their position and listen to it from their point of view. Then again you can respond accordingly with your own conclusion or reflection. But while listening, try to listen from the speaker's point of view. Don't be judgmental. Don't be preoccupied or don't pre-assume things and then interpret the message in a wrong way. Try to be in a position of the speaker and from his point of view, try to understand that message. To critically assess what is being said. Now, to observe the non-verbal signals accompany what is being said to enhance understanding. Till now, we were talking about something oral communication. We are talking about verbal communication. Now, what about non-verbal signals? Try to accompany yourself and understand those non-verbal signals too, such that your communication have that good rapport with the body language of the speaker and understand the mood and the thoughts of expression at that particular time. Then, to show interest, concern and concentration. You must possess these three elements while you are listening. What are those? You must have interest, you must have concern towards that person, and you must be concentrating on the concern what he has come to talk to you or what he has come to render you the
message. Now, to encourage the speaker to communicate fully, openly and honestly. Don't barge in between the speaker is talking to you. Don't try to interrupt the speech. Provide that openness, provide that ease and provide that honest mood such that the speaker shows all his interest to render the message to you. So, all these aspects are very important in the way of your listening communication. Then, to develop an selfless approach, putting the speaker first. Don't give or add your notions, your expressions, your thoughts or your assumptions. Try to understand the approach of the speaker before you become before you interpret or judge something. Try to think from that selfless approach. Try to put forward that approach which can understand the meaning of the speaker. Then, to arrive at a shared and agreed understanding and acceptance of both side views. So, try to understand, share and try to make yourself equipped with all those aspects which will help you in comprehending your listening comprehension. Now, there is a 5-step method to improve your listening skill. Let us try to understand what is that 5-step method which will help you in improving your listening skill. One is listening to the audio, no reading. Listen to the audio tapes. Listen to the speeches of eminent speakers. Listen to that which is interested for you. That is, that which makes you or creates interest in you. That which you are enthusiastic to listen. This will help you in having or building good listening ability within you. The first step in this method is to simply listen to the audio alone. Just sit at a place, take some time for yourself and try to listen to the audio. The point here is to focus solely on your oral skills and see how much you can understand without any visual aid. Here we will try to understand from 2 points of things. One is how much you are able to understand the oral skill. And the other thing is, without the visual aids, were you able to understand the conversation? So, you will be trained in the 2 aspects. One is oral skill, the accent, the dialect will be developed. The other side, without the visual elements, your effectiveness of listening will grow. Next, repeat. After once you listen to the audio, repeat. Repeat such that you are able to catch that accent, the rapport, the pronunciation and the way of structure of the sentence which is molded or spoken in that particular audio tone. Listen at least 3 times. Listen at least 3 times. With each listen, you can add a little more to your comprehension. That is, as you grow on increasing number of listening times, your comprehension, that is your understand will also go on increasing. So, your understanding will increase with the repeated versions of listening. Your goal should be to try and use all your current knowledge in the language to understand as much as possible from the audio before you read your text. That is, understand the relevance and the importance of the sentence structures, the accents, the pronunciations, the dialects, the way it is conveyed in the way of the mood, expression and the innovation skills in the way the language acquisition has been carried. All these aspects can be framed in a good manner to make your listening ability much more better and also outstanding. Now, step 3, get reading. Then you start reading. Read through it and check how much you understood from your listening. That is the gist. Try to read it and understand the gist. Whether when it was audio tape,
okay, it was rendered in a right way? Were you able to understand it in the way it was interpreted? All these things can happen through the reading practice after the audio repeated aspects. Then, as you read through the text, identify the new words you come across. See if you can guess the meaning of those words. Through this process of listening and reading, you can identify new words, and for those new words, do you know the meaning or not? If you do not know the meaning, try to take up a dictionary and try to open it and find the meaning for that particular words. If there are any new words that you think will be particularly useful in your conversation, you can write down, and then also you can practice for your better communication ability. Then, listening with the text. Now, first was only listening. Now, you will listen with the text. While text is appearing, you will be able to listen. To have a reference of what you are listening, or to have a reference of the accent while knowing the words and the sentences. This will be happening while listening the text, listening with the text. Listening again a couple of more times while you read along with the text. This is one time during the process that you are usually oral or visual stimuli together. Here it happens both oral and visual enhancement. You will have proper reference of understanding the sentence structures, understanding the spellings of the words, understanding the accent of the words. So, in this way, you will have good rapport and good command over the words while knowing the accent of the words and the pronunciation of the words. Now, listen again without the text. Once you have listened with the text, again you will be listening without the text. This is the general exercise which will help you in enhancing your better ability to listen properly, listen appropriately, and listen effectively. Once you listen effectively, appropriately, your ability to communicate, converse, and to build the relationships better will become outstanding and excellence. So, try to understand each and every point. Try to reinforce all these 5 steps while you are practicing the listening. By this point, you should be able to understand almost everything quite well, and you're ready to respond to that. Over the next few days, it is good to listen back to the clip again whenever you have a chance. Download the recording to your phones. Try to listen whenever you are free. To take that self time for yourself. See that your comfort level or comfort zone matches the needs of your listening ability, and try to repeat listening to the aspects. Now, I would like to conclude. Improve your English listening skills may sound like a major task, but it really just comes to the quality practice. Many people over the globe speak in English language, but how qualitatively you are able to converse with others is very important. It is your qualitative communication which will place you as a unique person among the peer group. So try to have that conversation qualitatively. Try to listen qualitatively. Try to speak qualitatively, such that all the bonds around you, all the relationships around you will love to talk to you, will love to understand you, and also help you in terms of the needs, whatever it is required for. You can ensure you are getting the best possible practice by setting yourself for success with proper preparation, having meaningful conversations, using resources that work for you. So these are the 3 elements which you will master with good listening communication process. After you have identified your own language needs, try to attain the goals of listening skills in English in active engagement. To have active engagement, to have active communication, it is very essential to be an active listener. So, in the way of your communication process, what are the steps to improve your English listening skills? Are prepare correctly, set a goal, make a plan, track your progress. Then focus on active listening, not passive listening. Have conversations. Don't be an introvert person. Have conversation. Talk to your friends. Talk to your colleagues. Don't be by yourself. Don't be alone. If you're communicating more, you will have good relationships more, and your workspace will have good rapport with you, and you will be able to attain the success that is needful to you. Use resources. What could be your resources for listening? English podcast, movies and TVs in English will also help you learn vocabulary and idioms. So, in this way, you will try to make your listening skills more better in the way of your English communicative skills becoming very, very good and excellent. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.